We were right. They were wrong. I want to go back in history a little bit and celebrate us and the times when we were right.
No, this video is actually about the times that camera manufacturers promised something or said something and then ended up either not doing that, completely changing their minds, or modifying their behavior.
Eating their words.
Okay.
They go back, they backtrack, and suddenly whatever they said was complete nonsense. But they never really revisit that, right?
You know what's not nonsense? Squarespace. So whether you want your own website, portfolio, store, you can make it happen with Squarespace, and it's super easy. You can drag and drop and have one up and running within a few minutes, and it's free for 14 days, so you get to try it before you buy it. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea, use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace. Tony, you're passionate. Let's just let you open it up. What's your first one, Tony?
This is the most recent one. When Panasonic launched the S5, a camera that we loved, they had a brand new feature that they had never had in one of their cameras before, which is on-sensor phase detect autofocus. This is a fancy terminology for just sort of more powerful autofocus that is very specific to newer mirrorless cameras.
Why is that notable?
Well, because Panasonic had never had this before, and yet every single other camera manufacturer used it, and Panasonic always struggled with autofocus, and everybody always said, well, you clearly need to adopt this technology to overcome the autofocus problems that you're having. And Panasonic just refused. Like, they were like more than a decade late on this particular thing. What I think makes it notable is how they positioned not using PDAF. They sort of took this like role of superiority and holier than thou-ness. Here's a quote. Our company has adopted what we call image quality priority contrast AF. For PDAF to work, it's necessary to embed a sensor for distance measurement in the sensor, that's correct. But the important thing is image quality, which cannot be compromised.
Okay. I would like to make a counter argument here.
Okay.
It sounds like they thought they had the best technology at the time and then maybe got new information and changed their minds. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. In fact, I'm reading a book called Quit, and it's all about how we have this negative stigma about quitting or changing your mind, but it's actually a productive and good thing to do at times. Sometimes you get new information and you change your mind, like Panasonic.
You make a good point. But here's the thing. What I think people should avoid doing is being really condescending about your current position, because if in the future you decide to change your mind, you're going to look really dumb because you took this condescending approach to it. But also, when you are condescending, that makes it more difficult for you in the future to admit that your approach was wrong. And what Panasonic did by calling it image quality priority contrast AF and saying that they would not compromise image quality, when they now introduce the technology, it makes it seem like they decided to compromise image quality.
I have a question. Did anyone care and reference back to this other than you right now?
No, I think I'm the only one who holds a grudge like this.
Because I've noticed people don't really have a memory for any kind of information.
Yeah.
But I'll also say that when we've done tests on phase detect autofocus cameras, we have seen artifacts, so they were kind of right.
Yeah, and it's not most pictures, but a couple of pictures a month, we end up with some kind of artifact. And not everybody will even notice it, but we did a portrait shoot recently, and some of the shots were backlit. And on our Sony A1, like one of the most expensive mirrorless cameras you can buy, lots of vertical lines ruining some of the shots.
I think that the truth always lies in a gray area, and that phase detect autofocus has pros and cons, and so did the autofocus that Panasonic was using before. But I think you're getting a higher rate of better photos with phase detect autofocus despite its drawbacks.
Yes, but I do want to say they were right. Not everybody acknowledges that on-sensor phase detect autofocus, at least the way Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, they all use the same sensors, at least the way they implement it, will cause artifacts, especially when shooting into the sun. Like these starburst shots that I took for the 50 f1.4 review. All these sort of rainbowish blocks that you see around the sun, that again, that's reflections off on-sensor phase detect autofocus points. You wouldn't see that in a DSLR. And in fact, I've never seen it on a Canon camera, so I think Canon's implementation might not have these same problems. But now you probably would see it on an S5, and nobody's really complaining about it. They'd rather have the autofocus.
Yeah.
But they were right.
They were partially right. How about Fujifilm? This one always kind of gets me because they always said that you didn't need a bigger sensor.
Yeah, and back in the day, we would review like the XT1, one of their first cameras, against whatever the current Canon full frame was at the time, maybe like the Canon 6D. It would be like, oh, well, the 6D has much better image quality. But when we said that, it was not consistent with Fujifilm's marketing, which was always, whoa. Because we use this novel X-trans sensor, which is a different arrangement of the red, blue, and green filters on the photo sites, because we use this technology, we'll get even better than full frame results. And our test just didn't support that, which enraged fanboys.
I think marketing is so brilliant because you can really just tell someone something.
Yeah.
And they'll believe it, and they'll look for evidence to support what they believe. Like, the human mind is interesting and terrifying. But anyway, we did get the blowback for that. I don't know why. Like, we just showed side-by-side pictures, and it just wasn't true.
Here's the part where they eat their words. At some point in the future, I don't know, 2016, I think, Fujifilm decides to launch medium format cameras with even bigger sensors. And their marketing is like, sensor size really matters. It's like the most important thing.
But they also were not X-trans
No,
sensors.
they didn't bother with the X-trans.
Like the special sauce, they're like, oh, what, that?
No, our high image quality camera.
But now they have no sensor in the middle. There's like really big.
There's no need for full frame. You're being ridiculous, Chelsea. They have X-trans, they have medium
I'm going to
format,
get threats
everything's
on my
covered.
life for this.
Okay, take a drink, Fuji fanboys, because I have another one. Olympus, Panasonic, Pentax, they had sensor stabilization early, and it was fantastic because you could put your fast prime on there and get longer exposures with handheld shots. It was just such a powerful tool, and Fuji had all these great fast primes, but no sensor stabilization. So everybody was bugging them, like, can we please get IBIS sensor stabilization on these cameras? Fuji came out and said that IBIS was incompatible with their X mount. But here's the thing. Again, they take the high horse. They say the amount of light at the corners is reduced when the sensor is shifted. We don't want to compromise our image quality. So again, this becomes about image quality until the point when they release sensor stabilization and it works really well. And nobody complains about image quality.
I mean, it's not just Fuji. By the way, we shoot Fuji all the time. We actually like Fuji.
Oh, I do.
People
just
just
like
think,
all these companies.
I know, but people think we don't. Yeah. But
everybody's getting shot here.
But every brand's going to get it. But every single brand does the same thing, where if they don't have a technology yet, they find a way to put it down and act like it's inferior in some way. It makes sense from a marketing standpoint, but from a testing standpoint, it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Speaking of infuriating.
This one is so sensitive for us.
Do you remember the DJI Spark, that little tiny drone that had the gestures where you could put your hand out and it would stop, or you could beckon it to you? It was really exciting. We got it. We played with it. We practiced. We really tried to make this thing work.
Yeah, the first time I turned it on, it was in our kitchen. It was like raining outside or something. I did nothing. It thought I gestured for it to take off and zoom back to get a nice like crowd shot like it'll do. I did nothing. It just took off on its own, backed right into the cabinet, left a nice little nick in our nice cabinets. This was something they advertised, being able to take indoor shots at parties, but it had nothing to stop it from crashing into kids, people, dogs, property, and it would.
Yeah, we were excited about it, and we just could not get the gestures to work, so we showed it in our review.
I remember you just went to turn it on, and the process was hold your hand flat and then press the button 3 times, and it takes off. Now, how dumb would you have to be to not follow that process? It's very simple.
I've done some dumb things, but I didn't do that incorrectly.
And it popped up a little bit, turned over 180 degrees, and powered itself down right into the sand. Can I say the advertisements actually showed people like launching it off of bridges and stuff?
Yeah. I don't know. We got the flack for that, but then DJI, they put out updates.
Yeah.
Specifically for the one where it just flopped out of my hand and onto the ground. Like, they made a software update for that.
Like 2 weeks later, they issued a firmware update with stops crashing during takeoff as the description.
It was just a bug, but we showed it, and they were very upset that we showed it.
Yeah, they called us unprofessional. A company that sold millions of flying blades that would crash into people, properties completely unprompted and unprotected and marketed it for use for selfies. They called us unprofessional for testing it objectively and reporting the results, and then refused to ever loan us any gear up to this point. It's been like 6 years.
Yeah, but you have to understand, and I know that you do, but we've been in the room when people say that they edit the bugs and the mistakes out of the technology they're reviewing. And a lot of people do that, and I understand it. You don't want to burn your bridges with a company. You're making a review. This is how you make money. Of course you want to keep your contacts. We're just idiots. I don't know how many bridges we're going to burn. I can't believe we still have jobs. You know what? You're not an idiot if you get your very own Squarespace, because you actually have nothing to lose. For 14 days for free, you can just try it out. Drag in your pictures. Do it for your photography. Do it for your other business. It makes everything look clean and professional, and it's easy to use for you and for the people visiting your website. And you're not at the mercy of social media. You get to organize things so that people see your best pictures first, not chronologically where they're just seeing your most recent, maybe worst pictures. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea. Use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. That's CHELSEA. All right, let's get back into it. Tony, you were like, ooh, you're getting saucy.
We've been attacking the camera manufacturers up to this point, but I want to take a shot at the fanboys because you know why? Because I have always tried to push the industry forward a little bit by just saying, what if they added this? This could be a little bit better.
Do you think maybe sometimes you use some inflammatory language?
Me? We're still talking about me here.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, because the video I'm thinking of is our Canon 5 DSR review. And I don't know why, on the drive back from the review, I had just had it with that top LCD screen. And I said, why on this like $3,500 camera do we have the display from an $8 70s Casio watch bought from the pharmacy? Is that what you mean by inflammatory?
That was the kindest way?
Maybe I could have found a nicer way to ask for them to update a particular feature that deserved it.
Yeah, maybe you would have a friend, Tony.
But I didn't. I railed on those Casio watch displays for a couple of years. I said, why not give us some kind of Wi-Fi so I can transfer the images to my phone instead of using my phone to take a picture of the back screen? Why not give us a flip screen and a touch screen? And this inflamed everybody.
You need to stop having so many ideas.
Here's some quotes. Wait, first, before I read the quotes, I want to say, Canon, thank you, because inflammatory or not, they listened, and now all the things I asked for are standard. Here's some of the comments. The 5DS is a studio camera, not a toy. The 5D bodies are great. Why change it? I don't know. Ask Canon, because they did. They addressed all of my concerns.
He's so sassy.
And the top screen is like a Casio watch. I guess we need to ask them for a 42-inch 4K OLED display next iteration.
Winky face.
I did not. No, that's hyperbolic. That would be ridiculous.
42 inches is a lot.
A touchscreen on a crazy heavy camera like this, I would drop it myself. Yeah, because you know how heavy touchscreens are. Nobody can lift a touchscreen nowadays. Your review about the Canon not having a touchscreen and swing out screen, toys for people like yourself that are more wanting junk on the camera than to take great pictures.
Let's just go to Canon and Nikon because they're really popular. If we haven't pissed you off yet, here we go. Step right up. Canon and Nikon said DSLRs were better than mirrorless cameras as soon as Sony's mirrorless camera started taking off and getting a lot of attention. And they were just like, that junk for fake photographers. People called them toys.
Yeah, that's fine. They called them bridge cameras. It's like a bridge to the real DSLR.
For when you're a real photographer. The real photographer argument is so childish, by the way.
Oh, all the time though, yeah. They did this right up until 2018 when they launched their own full-frame mirrorless. And like, now it's ready.
Yeah, and also they had to have been like currently making them while they were smack talking.
Yeah, it definitely. They told us that the development cycle was like 5 years. So they'd been planning it that whole time that they were talking. And this is one every camera manufacturer is guilty of. They all insist that that old camera lineup is going to continue to receive new lenses, new camera bodies. They never tell you A mount is dead, M mount is dead, the one mount from Nikon is dead.
Because you use the word dead and it makes people really sad. And like, if you can just like dial it back, and you know when you have to tell a little kid their hamster's dead? Like, you don't just say like, your hamster's dead. Like, what you say is
hamster has
like,
been discontinued.
you know how your hamster used to walk around and like do stuff? Not so much.
Yeah.
So maybe work on that.
God is not supporting your hamster anymore.
There will be.
But we can offer you an upgrade path.
Yeah, they always say that they're going to keep doing things, and then we tell people it's probably not going to happen, and you guys get upset, and I don't blame you. It's heartbreaking when your hamster dies.
We haven't really picked on Sony yet, so I'll tell the story of me reviewing the Sony what the heck did they call it? Like A99.
Oh yeah.
Mark II, I think. It was the very last A-mount camera. That was their DSLR lineup. And it coexisted with E-mount for several years. And I reviewed that camera, and can I say it had straight up bugs? Like aperture priority, I remember you would try to change the aperture, it just wouldn't change. And I was like,
yeah.
I'm sure they're going to release a firmware update. It said that in the review. I'm sure by the time you see this, a firmware update will come out. They never did anything else with A-mount. There were no firmware updates to fix the absolute bugs in that camera. They never released another lens, another camera. But while I was reviewing it, they're like, oh yeah, we are going to continue to release new cameras, new lenses.
Do you see why I have trust issues? Because whenever
Yeah.
I try to buy something, I want to buy a car, you see me, I'm like, this review's fake, this is crap, this is sponsored. Like, I just need the truth. And this is a post-truth world.
So for years, like 5 years after on Sony Alpha Rumors, when a new camera was announced, it would be an E-mount camera, because Sony had discontinued A-mount but hadn't told anybody. And everybody would be like, that's nice, but what about my A-mount? I was hoping for a new lens. And they just keep holding on to hope because nobody has told them it's
You know what this
discontinued.
is? The A-mount. The dead hamster in the corner. The kid's still petting it.
And you say I'm inflammatory and dramatic.
I can't help it. Oh no.
I don't even want to do this one. I didn't want to do it in 2018 when we first had to do this.
I want to do it now.
Okay.
A woman scorned. Let's bring us back to 2018 when Nikon launches their first mirrorless cameras. And they're supposed to be the best, the Nikon Z cameras. And everyone said the focusing was great. Do you remember that event?
Yeah, they told us it was going to be a mirrorless D850. And we had just called the D850 the greatest camera of all time.
That was my favorite camera. I remember sitting at the little presentation, like they always do like those tech presentations that are like, the new, like it's all fancy. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be a mirrorless D850? No, that wasn't true. It did not focus well. And they kept giving us new cameras at the event. They were like, yours is broken. And I was like, okay, I'll use his. Let me see yours. And I'd be like, same. Let me use yours. Same. Same.
And I would grab the
same.
Nikon Tech and I'd be like, I must be doing something wrong because look, it's not focusing.
Yeah.
And I remember he would swap the camera out. He would try to change some settings. And then at some point he just like shrugs like.
We did not put out a review for 2 weeks. We were literally tossing and turning. I was like, I can't do it. Everyone's saying it's great. We're going to be murdered.
Nikon continued to work on it. They released firmware update after firmware update. They improved and fixed so many things. Features, like it did not have eye detect autofocus at first. It didn't have eye detect autofocus. Look, I take a manufacturer fixing a problem as an acknowledgement of that problem, even if they won't say there was a problem. Because they can't say, it's perfect now, oh, it's more perfect. No. This is the last one, and it's the biggest one, because this is the worst, most lie-ish situation I've ever encountered. Olympus. They used to be a camera company, for those of you who aren't up on things, for many decades, in fact.
Yeah.
About a year before they exited the camera industry, there was a rumor from kind of a reputable source, Nikkei, like the Wall Street Journal for Japan. They said that there was a rumor that Olympus was going to sell off their camera division and exit the camera industry completely. And 2 months before they actually did that, the CEO came out and said, we have no plans to sell the camera business.
Yeah, but we reported on that article, which seemed very reputable.
And again, they did the condescending thing. They'd be like, oh, Tony Northrup thinks he knows better than the CEO of Olympus.
If you're trying to close a deal on your company and people think you're going to sell it, they might not buy your stuff, which means your valuation of your company goes down during a sale, which could influence the money you get. So yeah, it made sense that he said this, but was it good for me? No, CEO.
I went back to pull some clips from those videos and can't find them now. Seems like they're gone from YouTube.
They deleted them. Yeah, that was a rough one.
In the comments, tell me a time when you feel like a camera manufacturer might have misled you a little bit, or when did they walk something back?
Ooh, what's one happening now? You know what? I have a time when I had to eat my words.
Okay.
Last month, we made a video about AI, and I said I didn't think it was taking over quickly. I wasn't lying, but I was wrong. I changed my stance. I should actually make a new video. Like, I think it's coming. I think this is more of a pivoting point. It's going to be huge. So I eat my words, Tony.
Yeah, if I were to make a video of every time, especially I got a prediction wrong,
yeah,
we'd be here for weeks.
We could have a very wrong but maybe popular video. Use your face, Tony Northrup is an idiot, and was wrong. And that's our next video. Okay.
Believe it or not, I did that with a drone. Telling people not to buy drones. I went back and said that guy's an idiot.
How'd it go?
They're going to agree with one version of me, right? So win-win.
I love this. What a tactic. Thank you, Squarespace, for making great websites and making it easy and also making it fast so I can finish it. If you want to try it, get your 14-day free trial, go to squarespace.com/Chelsea. Use the coupon code Chelsea and you'll get 10% off. If you want to see more podcasts like this, you can either subscribe. You can subscribe to our playlist called Picture This Podcast and see all of our podcasts, or you can go to your favorite podcasting app and get the audio version. So thanks and see you next time.
Bye. Go work, babe.